Shrimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya
Jai.
Das Thakur Ki Jai. Prem
Jai.
Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Samadeva Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, The Creation, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra Quits Home, Text 11. Apina Suridas Tata Bandava Krishna Devata Drishta Shrutava Yadava Swapuryam Sukham Asate Apina Suridas Tata Bandava Krishna Devata Drishta Shrutava Yadava Swapuryam Sukham Asate Apina Suridas Tata Bandava Krishna Devata Drishta Shrutava Yadava Swapuryam Sukham Asate. Everyone can chant, please.
Hare Krishna. Api naha shurhat stata bandhava Krishna devataha drashtaha shruta va yadavaha sapuryam sukhamasate.
Hare Krishna. Apina suhridastata bandhava Krishna devata drishta sruta yadava swapuryam sukhamasate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Api naha suhridastata bandavaha Krishna devataha drishta shruta va yadavaha swapuryam sukham asate. Hare Krishna.
Apina suhridastata bandhava Krishna devata drishta shrutava yadava swapuryam sukhamasate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Apina sudastata bandhava Krishna devata drastaha shrutava yadava svapuyam sukham asate.
Anyone else? Okay, word for word translation. Api, weather. Na, our. Suhrida, well-wishers. Tata, oh my uncle. Bandava, friends. Krishna Devata, those who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Sri Krishna. Drishta, by seeing them. Shruta, or by hearing about them. Va, either. Yadava, the descendants of Yadu. Swapuryam, along with their residential place. Sukham asate, if they are all happy. Translation. My uncle, you must have visited Dwaraka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of the Lord, Sri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The particular word Krishna Devata, i.e., those who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Krishna, is significant. The Yadavas and the Pandavas, who were always wrapped in the thought of the Lord Krishna and his different transcendental activities, were all pure devotees of the Lord, like Vidura. Vidura left home in order to devote himself completely to the service of the Lord. But the Pandavas and the Yadavas were always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna. Thus, there is no difference in their pure devotional qualities, either remaining at home or leaving home. The real qualification of a pure devotee is to become wrapped in the thought of Krishna favorably, i.e., knowing well that Lord Krishna is the absolute personality of Godhead. Kamsa, Jarasandha, Shishupala, and other demons like them were also always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna, but they were absorbed in a different way, namely unfavorably, or thinking him to be a powerful man only. Therefore, Kamsa and Shishupala are not on the same level as pure devotees like Vidura, the Pandavas, and the Yadavas. Maharaj Yudhishthira was also always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna and his associates at Dwaraka. Otherwise, he could not have asked all about them from Vidura. Maharaj Yudhishthira was therefore on the same level of devotion as Vidura, although engaged in the state affairs of the kingdom of the world. Apina Suridas Tata Bandava Krishna Devata Drishta Shrutava Yadava Swapuryam Sukham Asate. My uncle, you must have visited Dwaraka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of the Lord, Sri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes? Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschata Deshatarine. Yudhishthira, considering his beautiful talk, continuing his beautiful talks with his uncle Vidura. In this verse, Yudhishthira is addressing Vidura as Tata, and Prabhupada translates it as uncle, but technically, actually, Tata means father in Sanskrit. And not even father, it's more like the very more informal and more affectionate term. Roughly, you could translate Tata as daddy. So this is the nature of the relationship of Yudhishthira and the Pandavas with Vidura. So close that just like it's considering him just like a loving father, just like their daddy. Because of course their daddy, Pandu, died before they were even born. Or before, not before all of them were born, but when they were young. So this is a loving relationship. And in that loving, intimate relationship, what are they asking? Have you seen anything? Have you heard anything about Krishna's beloved devotees in Dwaraka? This is the question. Very nice. This is the loving relationship with devotees. Majjita, Makita, Prana, Bodhayantak, Parasparam. They only want to talk about Krishna, Krishna's beauty, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's devotees, Krishna's philosophy, and they get great bliss and great satisfaction discussing these things with each other. Unfortunately, there was also bad news coming, but Vidura didn't dwell on that at this point, and I'm also not going to dwell on that at this point. So, and Prabhupada in the purport makes a several times, a couple of times, he makes this point about Krishna Devata, that Yudhishthira is Krishna Devata, Vidura is Krishna Devata, and all the Yadus in Dwarka are Krishna Devata. And he said Krishna Devata means those who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Sri Krishna. Now, Krishna Devata means that they've accepted Krishna as their Devata. They've accepted Krishna as their Lord. Also in Sanskrit, in India, there's this concept of Ishta Devata, that your chosen deity, your selected worshipable deity. Ishta is the same word as Icha, desire. So your chosen deity, your worshipable deity, your deity that you desire to worship. And for the Yadus, this is strictly Krishna Devata, and they're completely wrapped in that. But Ishta Devata, people are choosing so many worshipable deities, demigods, and politically, people have their deities. Trump is my deity, Biden is my deity, Modi is my deity, Putin is my deity, and I'm worshiping them. Prabhupada even told a story that during World War II, there was one man who made a big profit on the black market because there were a lot of shortages in India during World War II. And one man, through dealing on the black market, he became very rich. So he started worshiping Hitler as his Ishtadeva, because by the quote unquote mercy of Hitler, he became a rich man. So this is Ishtadeva, could be motivated by so many things. Ishta or Icha, by one's desire. Bhagavatam in the next canto, second canto, I'm going to read a little section from that, just the English. Second canto, chapter 3. One who desires to be absorbed about all the different kinds of Ishtadevas that people may choose and all of the motivations they have for choosing them. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly King Indra. And one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire. And one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnation of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwadev. And one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumaras. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvasi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires dominion over others should worship Lord Brahma. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. One who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. Goes on, it goes on, it goes on. So this is Ishtadev, materialistic Ishtadev, that you want something, you desire something, and you worship some person in order to get that. This is distinct from Krishna Devata. But these Ishtadev, all materially motivated. Prabhupada also tells a story about a worshiper of Durga, that he went to the Durga temple and he prayed before Durga, before the deity of Durga. Oh, Ma, please, I desire big wealth. And if you give me wealth, I promise you that I will offer you in sacrifice a water buffalo in sacrifice to you if you give me great wealth. So after a little while, that materialistic worshiper of Durga actually got great wealth. His business went his way and he made a ton of money. And one time he happened to come back but he didn't do any sacrifice. And he went back to the Durga temple one day and the deity spoke to him. The deity actually spoke to the worshiper. He said, oh, my dear devotee, I gave the great wealth that you desired and you promised to offer me in sacrifice a water buffalo, but you didn't offer a sacrifice in water buffalo. And the materialistic worship said, oh, Durga, it's so hard to get a water buffalo these days. They're not very easily available in the market. It's very difficult to do. And Durga said, well, okay, it's difficult. At least you can offer me in sacrifice one goat. He said, oh, goats, they're running around. They're very hard to catch. They're very hard to obtain. It's very difficult. I don't know if I could do it. And finally, Durga said to this materialistic so-called devotee, well, at least can you offer me one fly? At least offer me a fly, offer me something for the great wealth I gave you. And the demigod worshiper says, but my dear Durga, there are so many flies already buzzing around you. Can't you simply catch one yourself? So this is the mentality of the demigod worshippers. What can I get? How can I fulfill my desires? It's not an exchange of love or devotion. It's Ishtadeva, according to my desire, with the key point being, I want my desire fulfilled. And what does Krishna himself say about these persons in Bhagavad Gita? Kamaistastar ritagana prapadyante devata. That people who surrender to and people who worship the demigods, because it's all based on fulfilling their desires, fulfilling their lust. Kamaistastar ritagyana. Therefore, their lust has stolen away all of their good intelligence. And therefore, these foolish people, they surrender to the demigods. Why foolish? Antavat tu palam tesham tadbhavat yalpamedasa. They have alpamedasa. Their brain substance, their brains, their intelligence is very, very small, very deficient. Why? Antavat tu palam tesham. Because the fruits that they're pursuing, just like in that long list from the Bhagavatam, you want a kingdom, you want a wife, you want wealth, you want dominion, you want sex, you want this or that. Antavat tu palam tesham. All of these goals, all of these fruits that you're desiring are simply material things which in the span of time will disappear. Antavat. They have an end. Just like Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Bhagavan, Bhagyavan, meaning he possesses all fortune, all opulence, Bhagya and Van, one who, all opulence, Bhaga, Van, who possesses. So the fruits of the demigod worshippers, the materialistic persons, Antavan, Antavat, they have an end, meaning they're temporary. And because they're temporary, they cannot satisfy the eternal soul. Therefore, tad bhavat yalpamedasa. This is stupid. This is foolish to worship demigods and to worship them for these things. Therefore, at the end of that long list in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, it says, but akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. But best of all, instead of worshiping all of these demigods, even sarva kama, even you're completely full with all material desires. Even your akama, even you have no material desires, or moksha kama, even if you simply desire liberation, whatever you want, best policy is worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or using the language from today's shloka, everyone should become Krishna Devata. Whatever your position is, best policy is to become wrapped in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Devata is the actual correct conclusion, not to worship demigods for material things, not even to worship Krishna himself for material things, but to become wrapped in the service of Krishna. Therefore, Yudhishthira is asking, how are the Yadavas doing? Yadava swapuryam sukhamasate. Are they all happy in their homes? Are they doing well? Maybe you saw them. What's that? I forget the word now. Drishta and Shruta and Drishta. Maybe you heard about them. Maybe you saw them. So tell us, how are they doing? Because they're Krishna's devotees. Are they doing well? Are they happy? Are they prosperous? Is everything going well? Because they're Krishna's devotees. Because they're completely wrapped in the service of Krishna, that means you're also wrapped in a bond of love with all of Krishna's devotees. And especially the Yadavas, they have such a close relationship and such a friendship and even a dynastic relationship between them both. So naturally, there's so much affection between them. We were discussing last week about how devotees have this bond, have this relationship, because we're all together in serving Krishna. We're all servants of Krishna. Therefore, we naturally have this bond of love, and we want to love and exchange and inquire about and hear about and serve the Vaishnavas. We also know that this hearing about and serving and specifically associating with the devotees is one of the most important activities of devotional service. Satsang, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Maturavas, what?
Sri Sardaya Murtira Seva.
Yes, Satsanga, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Maturavas, Archamurti, Shraddaya Sevan. Yes. So these, not 6 items. Did I say 6? It's actually 5 items. These are very important, very powerful items of devotional service. So powerful that simply a little bit of attachment, just a little bit of affection, a little bit of engagement in even one of those 5 items can very quickly elevate one to the stage of Bhava Bhakti. So specifically, satsang, associating with saintly persons, associating with devotees. And the specific language that Srila Rupa Goswami uses in describing this is also significant. He describes satsang as Sajati Yashaya Snigda Sri Bhagavad Bhakti Sango. Sajati Yashaya Snigda Sri Bhagavad Bhakti Sango. That is associating with devotees. Sajati Yasaya. Sajati, we know in India, this is a big deal. Jati. Jati means community or a family lineage or a family group. This is jati. So sajati yashaya. Devotees are sajati. They're in a group. They're in a community. And within that community, it's very conducive for developing loving relationships. Materially, also, this idea of jati is there, caste or clan or lineage. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is arguing with Krishna about why he shouldn't fight, he's talking about, but jati dharma will be destroyed. Jati dharma, Prabhupada translates it as community projects or community dharma will be destroyed. So this is jati. Or there's a material concept, another material concept of jati. What's that? Yeah. Arche Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Naramati Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Narake. So Arche Vishnu, these are how you should not see spiritual things. Arche Vishnu Shiladi. You don't see the deity of Krishna just as a stone or just as a lump of matter. This is hellish. Guru Shunaramati. You don't consider the spiritual master to be an ordinary person. And Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. You don't think the Vaishnava to be part of some material community. Like, oh, this is an Indian Vaishnava, this is an American Vaishnava, this is a black Vaishnava, this is a white Vaishnava, this is a man Vaishnava, this is a woman Vaishnava, Vaishnavi. If you discriminate by this jati, by these material divisions, that's a hellish mentality and has to be rejected. But jati in a neutral sense just means a community. So devotees are within a community, sajati yashaya. And not only within a community, sajati yashaya snigda, they have a very affectionate relationship. So when someone is like you, when someone shares an interest with you, or shares a community with you, or shares an activity or pursuit with you, naturally, you'll have a friendship with them. And when they're very kind and affectionate and loving with you, then even more naturally, you'll have this loving relationship with them. So this is satsanga. This is the basis of satsanga. Sajatiyasya snigda Shri Bhagavad Bhakta Sango. That Bhagavad Bhakta Sango is within this group and with great affection. And look at the Pandavas and the Yadavas are like that. They're within a group. They're, like I said, they have a dynastic relationship. They're Kshatriyas, so they have common interests. And especially their main common interest is that they're all Krishna Devata. And therefore they're so affectionate to each other that they're asking Vidura, how are they? How are our great friends doing? Prabhupada says about this, this is from a lecture. He says, so Bhagavata means the complete knowledge. Bhagavata, from Bhagavan, it is called Bhagavata. From Bhagavat Shabda, it is called Bhagavata. So in the association of Bhagavata, devotees, if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, Sajatiya Snigdasya, Sajatiya, when people are thinking in the same way. So that means devotees who are interested in Bhagavad Bhakti. To understand Bhagavan, they should read Srimad Bhagavatam in that association. So this is Prabhupada's analysis of Sajatiya, that they're same jati, that they're interested in Krishna, they're interested in devotion to Krishna. We're interested in serving Krishna and developing our Krishna consciousness. That makes us Sajatiya. We're all members of ISKCON. We're all followers of Srila Prabhupada. We're all following the program that Srila Prabhupada chalked out for us. That makes us Sajatiya. Therefore, we should be snigdha. We should be very affectionate with each other, with devotees. And this is the basis of our loving relationship. On the basis of that, then when you do, Madchita Madgata Prana Boreyantak Parasparam Kathayantas Chamam Nityam Tushanti Cha Ramanti Cha. That like-mindedness and that affection allows the fullest development and the fullest flowering of this process of Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnava Sangha, and this process of hearing and chanting about Krishna. When we're like-minded, as we say in English, when we're all on the same page, and we're all having very affectionate, friendly relationships. In today's verse, the word surid is being used, well-wisher, and bandhu means friend or relative. So when we have that kind of relationship, then Krishna consciousness grows very strongly and can really thrive in our lives and in our institution. And even beyond that, Sajatiya, we can even subdivide a little bit. If someone is a book distributor, then naturally they're going to form a friendship with other book distributors, and that'll be a strong basis for them to exchange and discuss and develop their Krishna consciousness together. Or if someone is a pujari, naturally they'll form friendships with other pujaris, or whatever service or mood or mentality or interest a person has. Those things will naturally be a foundation for developing a relationship in Krishna consciousness, in the service of Krishna. Of course, we don't want to become too cliquish about this, that, oh, I'm a book distributor. It actually used to be like this. I used to even have this mentality to some degree back in the olden days, in a previous yuga when I was a book distributor. And then book distributors, they got a lot of praise, they got a lot of respect. And sometimes there would even be some dissing. Oh, this person, he's not a book distributor. He's not as important as I am, or his service is not as important, or his is not as glorious. Or in any group, false ego is there, that idea can develop. So we have our friendships within the greater group of ISKCON, and also within our narrower group of devotees in a temple. All together in a temple, we'll have a special friendship. Devotees that share a service, or share a mood, or share an understanding, will have a more friendship. But we also don't exclude unnecessarily. We respect and want to hear from all devotees. The pujaris should want to hear from the book distributors. The book distributors should want to hear from the pujaris. The managers should want to hear from the rank and file devotees, and the rank and file devotees will want to hear from the managers. So this is a balance that we strike. Sajatiya can be understood at different levels, but always snigdha, always affectionate, and always Krishna Devata, always the focus is on Krishna. Therefore, whatever group we're in, or whatever subgroup or subgroup we're in, before I get off this, I wanted to give another example. Just like used to be in ISKCON, that conflict between brahmacharis and grihastas used to be more powerful in ISKCON than it is now. There was actually a lot of dissent, that the grihastas who were running the temple would get angry at the traveling sannyasis because they would come to a temple and steal all the devotees away and take them on the road. And then there was no one to run the temple, no one to collect for the temple. And the sannyasis would criticize the grihastas. Oh, you're all just materialistic householders. Even in Gaudiya Math, sometimes the sannyasis, they used to call Prabhupada a kacha grihasta, a rotten grihasta. They used to call Prabhupada. So this mentality can be there, but no, we want to appreciate all the devotees, the renunciates and the householders. Prabhupada said a lot of nice points about this. Let's see. And ultimately, all of these things, brahmachari, grihasta, sannyas, book distributor, pujari, these things are part of our identity in devotional service, but they're also passing, changing things. Today's grihasta might be tomorrow's sannyasi. Today's book distributor may be tomorrow's pujari. So these things can change. Naham vipro na charapatir na bivaisho na sujo naham varni na chagriya patir na vanasta yatirva kinto pradyan nikila paramananda purnam bratapder go bibar tu padakamalyar dasa dasana das. We have to be careful about overly identifying with these other designations. Our actual designation has to be that we are Krishna Devata, that we are the servant of the servant of the servant, a million times removed, the servant of the gopis. Prabhupada says, let's see, this is not so long ago, from chapter 7 of the first canto. Prabhupada wrote, the brahmacharyas, the grihastas, the vanaprasthas, and the sannyasis all belong to the same mission of life, namely realization of the Supreme. Therefore, none of them are less important as far as spiritual culture is concerned. The difference is a matter of formality on the strength of renunciation. The sannyasis are held in high estimation on the strength of practical renunciation. So naturally, a sannyasi, because he's actually, hopefully, living simply, not associating with the other sex, simply devoting everything to traveling and preaching. Naturally, he's due some respect, but spiritually, he's as good, the Grihasta is as good. Prabhupada even wrote in a letter, he said, a brahmachari is good for living a life of celibacy, but a person who can live a life of celibacy in the presence of a beautiful and obliging wife is more than a brahmachari. Of course, anyone who is stuck up with only one wife is also called brahmachari. You will set a very good example if both of you agree not to have sense gratification anymore, and still you remain as husband and wife together. So Prabhupada would sometimes use the phrase grihasta brahmachari, that a grihasta who is fixed up in his proper grihasta vows is also a brahmachari. And therefore we grihastas, we naturally respect the sannyasis and the brahmacharis for their practical renunciation. But spiritually, we're all sajatiya, we're all in the same group, Krishna Devata, or aspiring to be Krishna Devata. And this is an important point that Prabhupada makes in the purport. He says Vidura was living as a renunciate, wandering in the forest, going on pilgrimage. And the Pandavas are living in the city, ruling the kingdom, doing all the government business, but one is not better than the other. Prabhupada explained in the purport, one is not better than the other. Ultimately, there's only one metric that matters. Are we Krishna Devata? Are we wrapped in the devotional service of Krishna? We have so many principles, including things like Grihasta and Brahmachari and Sannyasi. We have those principles. We have our groups, our divisions of service. We have pujaris and managers and floor moppers and book distributors. We have these different service, but the only real metric is, are we Krishna Devata? There's also another nice story. At a time when book distribution was really at a fever pitch in ISKCON, and at the end of a class, a devotee, a book distributor, wanting to put forward the book distributors, asked a question after class and said, Prabhupada, what service pleases you the most? Expecting Prabhupada to say book distribution. And he actually had commented on some instances that book distribution did please him the most. But Prabhupada made the point, or perhaps he understood the mind of that devotee who was trying to manipulate Srila Prabhupada. When he asked, what service pleases you the most? Prabhupada's reply was, that you love Krishna, that you develop love for Krishna. So this is the actual metric that matters. We have our, like I said, we have our ashrams and varnas. We have our different services and different types of persons in different services. We have different rules and regulations. We have our 4 regulative principles. Prabhupada said we have 4 no's and 1 yes. So 4 no's, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, and our 1 yes, chant 16 rounds every day. We have many rules for puja. We have rules for chanting, not hard and fast rules, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, but rules about how to avoid offenses and guidelines for how to chant properly and cultivate a proper mentality, rules for how to associate with devotees, just like we were also discussing last week, the 6 items of exchange between Vaishnavas. And I think it was Dronacharya Prabhu mentioned in his class a few days ago, not to judge a Vaishnava by his external appearance or by having some disease or some material condition. So we have so many rules and regulations and so many guides and so many things, so much yam and niyam, things to do and things not to do. But the ultimate point, smartavya satadam vishnur, vismartavya najatuchit, sarva vidi nisedasyur, etayor eva kinkara. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. These are our actual rules. These are our actual guidelines, our actual metric for understanding who we are and what our advancement is. And all the other rules, sarva vidi, all the other rules, kinkara, they're the maid servants of those 2 rules. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So our principle is to become Krishna Devata. And we have ashrams and rules and guidelines and a whole program that Srila Prabhupada chalked out for us in order to do that. And if we follow those principles that Srila Prabhupada gave, he designed it so intelligently for us to develop into Krishna Devata, to develop into a person who is wrapped in the devotional service of Krishna. This is his great intelligence. He gave us rules and regulations. He also gave us ecstasy. He also gave us the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. Chant and kirtan, honor delicious prasad, associate with devotees. He gave us both of these things in perfect balance. And if we follow that, then we'll become Krishna Devata. And we don't need to artificially become like smarta brahmanas, increasing unlimitedly rules and regulations and guidelines and principles and management and divisions and caste. And we don't have to unlimitedly increase these things. Prabhupada gave them in good balance. And we also don't have to artificially increase our so-called ecstasy. That, oh, I'm only gonna read about the gopis, or I'm only gonna do this, or I'm only gonna do that. No, we don't need to artificially increase it. Prabhupada gave it all in very perfect balance for us to advance in devotional service. All the rules that we need, all the ecstasy and spontaneity that we need are there in the process he gave, in the directions he gave for ISKCON. So we're in this ISKCON. We're all members of ISKCON. We're all Sajatiyasya. We're all Sajati. We're all together in this ISKCON clan or this ISKCON group. Even sometimes Prabhupada would say the cult of devotional service. So we're cult members in ISKCON together. We're Sajati. And we have, hopefully we have, or we're developing snigdha, affection for each other, serving each other and discussing Krishna Katha with each other. Just like the Pandavas are, always they want to discuss about Krishna, always they want to discuss and hear about the well-being and the welfare of the devotees of Krishna. So this is the process Srila Prabhupada gave us, so beautiful and so perfectly balanced. And we see it, like here, echoed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the things that Prabhupada gave us are there in the Bhagavatam, there in the Bhagavad Gita. But he tailored it specifically and perfectly for us to follow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. If there's any questions and comments, we can discuss now.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, for very wonderful and energetic session today. You made lots of points, like especially related to the Krishna Devata, which you very well stressed that, and it was really wonderful way of all the practical examples you gave that to follow that how the Yudhishthira Maharaj and Vidura followed. So thank you so very much for that. So, yeah, dear devotees, you can unmute, and if anybody is having any comment, questions, so you can unmute and you can go ahead, or you can raise the hand. We can go ahead with that. Please go ahead. So meanwhile, I'll go for my comment, Prabhu. So like I like very much the way you mentioned this akamo sabkamo ba moksha kama udaradi, means even though if we have any desire, since we are having a trust in Krishna, we are worshipping Krishna with the Shraddha Bhav. So any desire, even though material desire we have, we should ask to Krishna only. Krishna is if the kid is there, if the child is there, he can go to the either mother or father to ask, to give that toffee or anything, want. So even though if we have desire for getting the money, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, artho arthati jigyasu dhyanicha bharata sarva. So depending upon the level, suppose I have desire to get money, so I can ask to the Krishna, give me money. Next time, after the money, maybe he can give the reciprocation that I can go to the level of, bhakti or whatever next level. So anything, like akamo sarva kamo, any desire we can ask to the Krishna, we can express to the Krishna. In that way, we'll be, connected to the Krishna, we'll be remembering the Krishna. Ultimate thing is to remember the Krishna. As you mentioned, like, Smartabhyam Satatam Vishnu, Smartabhyam na jatu chet. So nice project. It's a really wonderful, energetic session in the morning. By that way, like we will keep whole day ourselves, like surcharge with this energy, and that way we can remember Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes, I also like very much that akama sarva kamova verse.
Yeah.
And it's nice because if you're sarvakam, if you're full of material desires, but if you approach the demigods, even if you get those things, your lusty desires will only increase more. But if you approach Krishna for that, it's not very proper to approach Krishna for material desires.
Exactly.
But if you do, you'll become purified.
Yeah.
It's like Dhruva Maharaj, of course, is a great example of that.
Exactly.
He came with such a big material desire, but he was so purified that at the end he rejected it all. That's why it's recommended you approach Krishna, even if your heart is full of material desires.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Mindavali Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the nice class. And these are points I just take over it, whether we are home or outside, that Krishna, actually, either we're remaining home or leaving home, the real qualification of a pure devotee is become wrapped in the thought of Krishna, everybody. That was very good, Prabhu, because at some ages we cannot go out for pilgrimage, or we may or may not. Sometimes we do, but all the pilgrimage and age has to permit, and a lot of things has to. So if you are at home, we can do that Krishna conscious that we are doing at home. That will be very good. That is one thing I liked it. And then whatever way, which way we are taking, absolutely, that Kamsa and Jarasandha, they're all Shishupala, like that. Yeah. They are also Krishna conscious, that they wrapped in Krishna, this thing, but they went different way. So when we go through the classes, this listening Bhagavatam every day, it helps a lot.
Yeah. Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami discuss that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What's the now it's escaping my mind. The definition of devotional service from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyadavitam Anukulyena Krishnanu. Anukul, it has to be favorable. That even you're thinking, and Prabhupada said, Shishupal Kamsa, they're thinking of Krishna all the time, but it's not favorable. Or Krishna may even get pleasure fighting with the demons, but because their mood isn't favorable, it doesn't count as Krishna Devata. It doesn't count as pure devotional service.
That's one thing. And then Ishtadevata also. I don't know whether I heard any demigods as Ishtadevata, but the way you are telling today, I learned today. But I used to think that Krishna and then Lord Venkateshwara or Lakshmi, like that. They always say.
Yeah, that's the more mature understanding of Ishtadevata, that you're worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but according to your desire, according to your nature, you're worshiping. Some worship Krishna, some worship Ram, just like in Vishnu Gada's Wednesday Chaitanya Charitamrita class a couple of weeks ago, we were hearing about Rupa Goswami's and Sanatan Goswami's brother, Anupam, who was a great devotee of Ram. And even the brothers tried to make him a devotee of Krishna, but he couldn't tear his head away from the lotus feet of Lord Ram. So that's his Ishta Devatas, Ramchandra, but it has different, the term has different uses in different places.
But main thing is, whichever Ishta Devata we just pray, but we should concentrate on that and then we do. Means like not demigods, but demigods,
Yeah, Krishna, sure.
They give us a blessing, but unless Krishna wishes that, they cannot do either. And that's what I thought. Demigods also.
Yes, Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember the shloka, but he says that.
I think so. I heard
that the gifts offered by the demigods are actually only really offered by me.
Yeah.
but because they're kamastastar with the jnana, because the demigod worshippers, their intelligence is stolen away by lust, they don't understand that.
Yeah, so these are a lot of things we need. These are very good. And then nowadays the relationships are falling, they're not that much strong like before. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was still, he's praying uncle, he's respecting him and he's asking him, and they're all missed him. Yeah. All those things, they're just not anymore in this Kali Yuga relationship.
Yeah. We've lost a lot, it's true. But as devotees, we could try to, as far as possible, keep these very affectionate dealings. How to deal with devotees, we could develop that, and within our family, to the best of our ability, we can develop. So many things are lost.
Yeah,
but we could,
and then we have different kind of relations.
Right.
Not that keeping relationships is not the main thing, which is the one when like good devotees, like you're talking about. That is the main thing, I feel. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to say that your story about, I think, Durga and the fly, the person, it reminds me that we should always remain humble, even when the material desires are fulfilled. So sometimes we don't have, like, lose faith something in God and our position, and forget God's position and our position. So we should always think that it's like God's blessing, and we should be humble and not be like full of lust and forget God. We should remember God also.
Yes, and show and have some gratitude and appreciation. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Any announcements about Sunday feast or Rath Yatra? Rath Yatra is coming up. Everyone should be excited about that.
Yeah. So as usual, we will have like Sunday feast, and we are warming up for the Rath Yatra. Like yesterday, we received the notification also for Rath Yatra, and so anybody interested for the service, like the service will start from Thursday itself. Friday will be in the, full pace for the service, vegetable cutting and cleaning and everything. So we will be very actively doing that. So we have to come forward for that. Friday, we must visit to the temple for the service. That's a one-time opportunity. We'll be getting chance to serve to Lord Jagannath. Yeah, so that's Rath Yatra is a very energetic. Once in a year we have this opportunity to do this service. So that's what I can mention. Rest we are good for this session.
Jai.
Yeah. So Radha Mataji, you have anything from your side? You are there? Maybe she'll be busy in the like classes and all. All right, so we can close the session for today.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.